guys, it's Billy, and this week's topic is insurance. I'll just say straight off the bat that if you're wanting to get top surgery with the surgeon in Australia, then you should be very seriously considering getting with a health fund. The difference in cost between being covered with a health fund for top surgery and not is quite significant. For example, with my top surgery, I went with Dr Hassall in Sydney, and it was at Hunters Hill Private. Now, just consider the fact that each hospital does have different rates for in-hospital accommodation and things like that. But I did call them after my surgery and asked how much it would cost for people who weren't covered, because I was getting asked that question. So I found out, and basically my cost for top surgery with health insurance was $1,355. The cost that it would have been for one night hospital stay without health insurance was $5,462. So that's just one night, and for each night in hospital, it would have cost me $739. I ended up staying for I think it was 6 nights. So you can imagine that would have certainly added up had I been paying it myself. Generally speaking, most people stay for a night. Well, they stay for a night, definitely. There is always, you can always like leave after one night usually, but in my experience, I wouldn't have traded staying for longer for anything. So I was very happy to be able to stay for as long as I needed to stay to fully recover and have the kind of service that I received in that hospital, particularly because I did have a complication. I developed a hematoma, so it was necessary for me to stay. So that's something to consider as well, is that if you do have any complications and it is necessary for you to stay in hospital, that you're up for some serious costs if you're not with a health insurance provider. Something else to consider basically when going with the health insurance provider is that there's a 12-month waiting period from the time that you sign up with them to the time that they'll cover you for top surgery. So it's worthwhile really considering your timeline for transition. For me, I about 6 to 8 months before I started testosterone, I joined a health fund, knowing that it was going to take 12 months to be covered, so that I would be by the time I wanted to have top surgery. The other thing to consider is that if you're creeping up to that age that is 31, I think it's 31, then you will find that if you go a day older than 31 without having health insurance, then you'll be up for paying full premiums for the rest of your life. So what the government does is it subsidizes people who are paying, who are with the health fund under the age of 31, so that your costs are significantly reduced, and they're reduced for the rest of your life. You know, it might not seem like a big deal when you're 30 and you're pretty healthy, but as you get into old age and you really need a health fund, if you don't start until you're over 31, then you'll be up for paying those premiums. You don't need to have top extras and all of that kind of stuff. You can just have the basic cover. So it's in terms of choosing a health fund and what sort of cover to go with. Most health funds will cover you for top surgery as part of their hospital package. I have top hospital and top extras. The top hospital was with an excess that I pay, which is $300 each time I go into hospital. Most funds will have the excess option, which is just a cheaper monthly rate that you pay. But then when you actually go into hospital, you pay the $300 excess. So if you don't want to have to pay that, then you just pay more per month. It just sort of depends on how often you consider that you'll probably be going into hospital, how worthwhile it's going to be paying more per month or more in a lump sum. So that's one of the things to think about. I guess it depends a lot on your health situation. So if you have any other health conditions that are pre-existing, then it's going to potentially affect your cover and what they'll cover you for and how much it's going to cost, etc. So it's also about whether you do want to get an extras package. I I did, but I haven't actually found it to be that worthwhile. They don't really seem to cover very much. Like once Medicare covers the psychology fee, they won't cover it. So it's either the health fund or Medicare that covers the psychology fee. So I don't really know too many things that like I could use it for. Maybe I think they cover things like acupuncture, a few sessions and stuff like that, but it's not huge and I don't really think it's probably worth the expense. But that's something you can look at each package and decide. In terms of choosing a specific health fund, if you go to the FDM Australia website, you will find on there a pretty good resource of what health funds are used by trans guys commonly in Australia. So on that list, I'm just reading like verbatim. There's NIB, Mutual Community, Medibank, MBF, HCF, HBA, and Australian Health Management. So check out those. But essentially, you're not going to find something on their website that says we will cover you for a double mastectomy. What it is you'll see a lot of references to the fact that most health funds will not cover you for cosmetic surgery. Double mastectomy is not a cosmetic surgery. It's actually considered reconstructive surgery. So you'll be covered by a hospital plan that covers you for surgery. What else? I think that's probably it. My health fund, I don't know if I mentioned, is teachers. It's not bad, but I mean it's quite good in terms of, I think I pay about $60 a month, $56 a month or something, for top hospital with the excess and the top extras, which is pretty good. They're supposed to have a good dental plan. I have got some dental stuff done and it's been covered pretty well. But the thing with my fund is that you have to be either the child of a teacher or a teacher yourself. I'm the former, so that's how I could get with them. But you know, I'm sure most of the other health funds will be pretty good. I'll also just say as part of this that I think, you know, because it's tea time is pretty much populated by Americans. I've got to say, I feel for you guys out there if any of you have watched this. Because I think most people who are watching this will be Australian. But if any of you Americans have stayed tuned this long, then, you know, God, it must be very difficult to be seeking surgery and to going through this whole process with the kind of shoddy health funds that you have there and the lack of government funding for health. It's just shocking, really, and I'm kind of glad to be living in Australia for that very reason. Yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned it, but if you're something weird. If you're considering going overseas for your top surgery, then your health fund in Australia won't cover you. What? See my dog just in the corner of the screen now. Yeah, so your health fund in Australia won't cover you for top surgery overseas. They'll only cover you for surgical procedures in your own country. They also won't bloody cover you for even buying glasses online from an overseas company, which just seems ridiculous to me. Yeah, and travel insurance won't cover you for a pre-existing condition, which transsexualism is considered a pre-existing condition. So you won't be covered for that when you, with your travel insurance, won't pay for you to get top surgery in the States. So it's definitely worth thinking about if you're considering going to America for top surgery, the fact that if there are any complications with the surgery in terms of hematoma, or if your body, you know, doesn't deal with it very well for whatever reason, some other complication, and you end up having to stay in hospital for a couple of nights or receive, you know, intravenous antibiotics or anything like that that can happen, then you're potentially up for a bill of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. There are some pretty crazy stories of Australians traveling overseas and having, you know, to America and getting sick and not having travel insurance and having to pay, you know, $20,000 for, you know, a Band-Aid. So it's pretty ridiculous. I definitely just take that into consideration. I mean, most of the surgeons in the US, I think, have a very small incident rate of those kind of complications, but it can happen. So, you know, think about that. And otherwise, that's it on insurance. I think I've covered it all. Check out the FDM Australia website, as I mentioned, or their Auditioning Female to Male in Australia. I'm not like selling this or anything, but it is a good book, and in that it has a whole section on health insurance providers and who to go with and what, you know, different guys' experiences in terms of that. So check that out. It's good for pretty much like anything, any topics. All right. I hope everyone's well. Peace.